it's so important. Like, you have to have the right people around you. One, to keep you grounded. Two, to kind of bounce things off. Like, and you know, you need a break sometimes, and you need support. Like, particularly when, I don't know if you have this, like, running a business, like, sometimes you question yourself, and sometimes you need an outsider's perspective, and sometimes having someone who's not in it day to day can help you figure things out.
Yeah. Hello everyone, welcome again to another episode of Boss Nation Presents Beyond the Athlete. I am Coach David, and today we have a very special guest, and the conversation today is going to be quite interesting. It's a kind of, I would say, a tale of two worlds coming together, which is sports and fashion. And our guest today is a creator, a god in her own way and in what she does, a designer, and she loves sports. And her name is Kelly Gunner, who is also the founder, creative director, and CEO of Tomme Studio. You guys are going to have so much fun from this conversation. Make sure you have your pen and paper out or your phone notes out. Take notes and rewatch this episode again. Kelly, thanks for coming on today.
All right, thank you for having me. That was thank you for the introduction. That's very nice.
You're welcome. I must say you look really amazing today. Love the bag.
Thanks.
And I love the color coordination as well.
Yeah,
maybe I should have dressed up a bit more cooler today as well. But yeah. But Kelly, let us know who's Kelly Gunner. Who are you? What's your upbringing like?
Yeah. Well, starting off deep. Yeah. So I had a great upbringing. Like, I come from the countryside. Come from a place in Norfolk.
Yeah.
So grew up like very much outdoors. So that's kind of where my love of sports comes from. Like always being outside, playing sports, playing football, netball, basketball, etc.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I've got two amazing parents. And yeah, had quite a good. Don't get me wrong. There's obviously trials and tribulations
Of course,
when
yeah,
you're a
yeah.
kid and like parents getting divorced, etc. But like, yeah, generally speaking, like they're great. And yeah, I just was a very much outdoorsy kind of kid.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where my love of sports comes from. Really, just always playing it.
What was the first sport you started playing?
Oh, football.
Football.
Yeah, I was football.
What made you fall in love with it?
I just like running around and winning. Like that was it. I always wanted to win.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I just liked kind of running around and that kind of team mentality. Now, I used to do running as well, and I hated it. Like just running never felt like I was really achieving anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, always much preferred team sports. But yeah, football was the very first sport I ever played.
And when did you what's the word now? When was that moment like when you first experienced basketball?
Oh, do you know what? It was do you know what I first fell in love with?
Yeah.
Was a Charlotte Hornets basketball that I saw in a shop when I was like maybe like 12.
Oh wow.
And I just loved the design of it. I didn't even know who the Charlotte Hornets were. I just loved it. And I played with that. I just played with it like every day. And like my friend actually had a hoop in her driveway. So we just used to play, not really knowing that much about it. It wasn't until I started watching the Bulls on TV in the 90s that then I started to kind of fall in love with what the actual sport was about. But I literally picked up a basketball without really knowing what it was.
Really? Amazing.
Yeah, like, and we had it a little bit in school, but not a lot. It was more netball. So it was something I sort of discovered a little bit outside. And then when I got to high school, it was like, yes, we play basketball and stuff like that. And it was a little bit more part of the sports that we did.
Okay.
But yeah, it was the Charlotte Hornets basketball.
That's good. That's interesting. It's always nice to hear moments of when people discovered basketball for themselves.
Yeah.
For some people it might be different. It could have been maybe like a jersey that they saw and or a t-shirt or something like that. For me, it was actually my cousin.
Yeah.
So I was born in Nigeria, and we just created our own hoop.
Oh, wicked.
So he actually played quite a lot, but he created a hoop in my grandma's compound. And then, we just fell in love with it. My first My first basketball was a ball made out of rubber bands.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. They're surprisingly bouncy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember making rubber band balls as a kid at school.
Yeah.
They're very bouncy.
Yeah,
but-
very, very bouncy. Very, very bouncy. So that was my first basketball.
Oh,
Which is
weird.
quite interesting. So,
Yeah.
and then when I came to the UK, I just, fell in love with it. I'm still in love with it now.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what is, if I'll ever fall out of love for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just an amazing sport.
Yeah, it is. I think it's so unique in that the sport itself is an amazing sport to watch. It, like compared to, I don't know, cricket or golf. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's really exciting to watch. But there's this whole culture around it that is like fashion, music. Like there's nothing else like it. Like in the same way, like football has an amazing fan base, but I wouldn't say they're as fashionable on the other side of it. Some are, don't get me wrong. There's people like Hector Bellerin and like that actually have some sort of style, but there's a lot that don't. And it's just not got quite that same fashion culture around it. And I think basketball is the most unique in that way. Like
it is.
And huge, like globally, like not only just in the States, in the UK, like Turkey, France, Germany, like huge basketball like fans in those countries that you probably wouldn't straight away think.
Yeah, I think that it's like
obsessive.
even Israel.
Yeah, exactly. Like just countries that like you wouldn't think necessarily would have their own leagues, and I don't know, like just I think when people think basketball they just naturally think NBA because of how big it is, but the culture is just everywhere, and it's amazing. And it's such a community sport as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like even within our community as well, like friends and family that we have, like myself and the team.
Yep.
Everyone's a football head.
Yeah.
Basically. But then with basketball now they're now exposed to basketball through what we do with Basketball Nation. It's more exciting. They're watching the games more.
Yeah.
They're learning a few things more. They're asking me for Instagram pages where they can watch certain things now. They're seeing your platform as well, because I've shown your platform to quite a lot of people as well. Because we actually have a friend that actually designs bags as well.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, so you'll get to meet him also, don't worry.
Yeah, great.
And for them, it's like the difference between, it's like the experience when they go to a basketball game, especially going to a London Lions game, which some of them have. Yeah. It's such a vibrant experience. It's almost like everyone in the space is one. Yeah, compared to football, where it could be quite distant, basically. But that's not a knock on football anyway. So
no, I love football.
Yeah, I still love football. Yeah.
My name's Gunnar, and I'm an Arsenal fan.
Oh, there you go.
Can't get any more ingrained than that. I love it, and I love going to football games as well. But I just there's something different and more magical about basketball, personally. But
tell me about Tom Studio.
Yes.
Is it Tom Studio or Tom Studios? Sorry.
Either or, like because either or, I don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, so tell me about it. How did the idea come about? What was the process like even before establishing the idea as well?
So the kind of core of it comes from the name of the brand. So because people often ask me, like, what does Tom even mean? And like, I think when I explain it, then it makes more sense. So Tom comes from crossing the words tomboy with homme and femme. Okay. Because I wanted something that, when I was thinking about the brand and starting a brand and the concept, I was like, I'm a tomboy myself. Like, I dress more, although I'm female, identify as female, I dress more masculine in some ways. I like men's clothes. I like that oversized style. So I always liked that kind of crossing that male and female aesthetic and that vibe. And I think in streetwear, that's very prevalent, sort of thing. So that was where the kind of name started to come from. And I did a t-shirt which was like the definition of a tomboy, and it was like fusing that male female aesthetic. So that was sort of where the name came from. And it started off by like I was just reworking things that I had, so like making jumpsuits that were like boiler suits for my friends, and like making bags out of cushions I had around the house and things like that. So it started off as very much like just a little DIY project for me and for my friends. And then but it was always about kind of male female kind of crossing that thing. And then I had a basketball laying around in my studio, and I just decided to cut into it because I was thinking I would use it in some way. So like, because obviously it's synthetic like composite leather, so it's like I thought, oh, maybe I can take it apart and use it, I don't know. And it stayed in shape when I cut it, so I was like, oh, okay, cool, what can I do with that? And it sort of went from there, really. The very first one I made was awful. Like, it was so bad.
It's always like that.
So bad. But yeah, it was a very like random, everything's kind of been really organic. So I did that. And it actually just happened to fall into the theme of what I was doing. It was never really like a plan, but because it's taking something so male dominated and subverting it into something more female. Not to say that men don't rock it, because they do, but that was kind of naturally where it started, and that's kind of all fed into Tomme and that kind of male-female aesthetic, and that's where it's kind of all come from. So I would like to say it was this great big grand plan that I had, but it wasn't. It was just an happy accident.
But you know, sometimes it's never a great big plan. It's always something that you just want to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And it just comes out into becoming something else. But is this something that you studied as well? Did you do anything to do with product design or
not really
fashion, anything like that, or is just something that you just stumbled upon?
I was always music, so I think I've always had a love for fashion, like and the way I styled myself, grew up, etc. I always had this love of fashion and sneakers and stuff, but I was very much like music focused, and I was like I went and studied music, I went to uni for music, I worked at Universal Music for a very long time, so it's very much music. And obviously fashion sort of falls into that, in terms of like music and fashion are so intricately linked. Like my dissertation at uni was on the correlation between fashion and music and how closely connected they are. So it's always been there in the background, but it was always something I pursued as a hobby outside of music. So it was like after work, making clothes for myself, learning to sew, etc. I did a short course at London College of Fashion and studied shoe design.
Nice.
Which was an evening thing I did for like 6 months when I was at Universal. So it was like trying to fuel that on the side more than like it be the focus of what I was doing. And then when I left Universal, I started working in like advertising and was working in jobs that were probably closer linked to fashion. And then it was kind of like, okay, I can combine all of these worlds and all of these things that I was doing. And then it sort of, it's kind of come together in what is kind of Tomme. And I've pulled from every single kind of job I've had or learning or background. But it's not like I went, I want to study this and this is what I want to do. It was literally like hands-on, practical, just learning as I went. Like even with this, it's like I've had to learn how to find the sewing machine that I needed to do this, and like means speaking to people that can maybe help and know. A friend of my sister's was a footwear, makes custom leather boots, and I sent one to him and was like, could you sew it? Do you know what machinery? So he tried to sew it and then went, actually, you need this machine.
Oh wow.
So I just went
Amazing.
and got it. So it's like I was able to kind of get some help, but I did little bits, but like shoe design and stuff, but never studied. It was just practical.
That's
Get on
interesting.
with it.
That's interesting. So would you say that process is quite important in this type of journey, in your journey as well? It's been going through the process basically.
Like it's good to learn things yourself. Like it was good, because if I pass this on to someone else, if I just gone straight to a factory, I wouldn't really know the process of how to do it. I wouldn't really know any like how to, if they had problems, how I could advise them, or like what the actual outcome was going to be of it. And also you can kind of spend a lot of money sampling, because particularly if you want to get something made here, it's so expensive. Very. So it was some of it was like, I'm going to try myself, because I actually don't have the money to try and find someone who can do it. And plus I have tried to go to factories here and I just get no responses, because they're either too busy or they just don't want to try something different. And then you get into a whole other world of trying to find a factory in another country, and it's a whole different process. So some of it was just, I'm going to do it myself, just to try and figure it out. And then I know what I need, I know what I want. And then at the point where I need to pass it on to someone else, then I know everything, and I can kind of say everything, and show people how to do it and pass that on. Not to say that a good leather handbag factory couldn't work it out, because they could. But yeah, spending £2,000 or £3,000 on a sample just wasn't in the budget at the time. And now it's like something I've just fallen in love with doing. So I just do it and I love it. And yeah, it's my hobby and my job. But obviously, yeah, at some stage I'll have to let it go. So
hopefully not soon though.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking to someone about, doing it on a larger scale. So then I may have to, I can't make 5,000 bags, so I need to pass it to someone else.
I know. Yeah, makes sense. Because I actually read that you actually, you physically hand make the bags as well, which is pretty impressive as well. So anyone that actually gets the bags, you know that this has been
my hands have
blood, sweat, and tears, and so much love is in these bags, basically. Yes. I actually come from a fashion background as well.
Do you?
Yeah, so backstory, my mom and dad, this is back in Nigeria again. So my dad was a designer in Nigeria, and my mom studied fashion design in Nigeria, and that's how they met.
Oh,
so my mom worked for my dad first.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So the whole family is pretty much in fashion. Well, apart from the youngest one, she's studying medicine.
Yep.
But my sister's one of my sisters an editor. My other sister, she writes kids books, but she also makes kids clothes as well.
Oh, cool.
My mom still designs now, part time.
Yep.
But I worked as a stylist and personal shopper. But then I also, at one point in my life, did bespoke suits. And the issue as well that I had was finding anyone in the UK to do it.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to Bulgaria and China to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, because the cost was a lot less, but quality was not still too bad. But I don't know why it's so hard in the UK. But I know there are places in the UK that can do it. It's just having that relationship or being able to find them, because they're not online for you to find them. It's through relationships and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, so I can relate.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate.
It's hard because you want to keep things in the UK because you obviously want to be able to control it a little bit and go to a factory and have a look at what's happening. But yeah, sometimes it's just the structure and the industry is just, it's there, but it's not there, if you know what I mean. It's just not as easily accessible, like you say, unless you know someone who knows someone, or people don't seem to advertise that much online, which is where everyone goes to find everything. So you do end up going places like China and abroad, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not knocking that at all. And there's some, I've got 2 factories in China, and they're amazing. But yeah, sometimes you just want to have be able to see it and touch it, and
How important it is to have key relationships, especially in. First, okay, I'm gonna twist the question. First of all, do you feel like you're working in your purpose right now?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah,
good. So my next question after that is, when did you realize that?
Oh, good question. I think probably when I had to make the decision to quit my job. I think because I liked my job, I just wasn't in love with my job. And it was during COVID, which was probably a very stupid decision to quit your job in the middle of a pandemic and no one knew what was going on. And I've always been someone that needed a bit of financial stability because I've got a house, I've got things and responsibilities, no kids, but I've got responsibilities and a husband and stuff. So I was like, financially, I need to have some stability. But I was like, if I don't do this, am I going to regret it forever? And the answer was yes, I am. So I was like, I have to just take that risk. And if you don't, then I'll never know, sort of thing. So it was probably that point where I was like, no, this is the passion. This is what I really, really want to do. And I'll do anything to make that happen and keep it going and stuff like that. So it was kind of that point. I think up until then it had been like unsure of you know, can I risk it? And then I was like, absolutely, yeah, 100%. What the fuck am I doing? Yeah, I think it was that point where I was like, a life-changing decision had to be made. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing I emphasize with a lot of the guys, especially because the way I get to connect with a lot of the guys is through our sessions,
Yeah.
through our scrimmages and stuff like that. And one thing I always emphasize when I talk to them is and even though we have ladies that come to the session, I still call it a brotherhood, basically.
Yep.
So I emphasize brotherhood, I emphasize family, I emphasize community, because I believe that those relationships are key to keep around you. So if I'm doing something, I'm not doing it for myself, I'm doing it for all of us.
Yep.
And I won't be able to do what I need to do if I didn't have all of them alongside me, basically. How important are key relationships or building key relationships over the course of your life, purpose, journey, etc.?
It's so important. Like, you have to have the right people around you. One, to keep you grounded. Two, to kind of bounce things off. Like, and you know, you need a break sometimes, and you need support. Like, particularly when, I don't know if you have this, like running a business, like sometimes you question yourself, and sometimes you need an outsider's perspective, and sometimes having someone who's not in it day to day can help you figure things out.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have people that support you around you, because I have a breakdown once a month, like, you know, and it's nice to have that support, whether that's friends, whether that's like teammates, whether that's, you know, a husband, partner, etc. And yeah, it's good to have your people around you, like whether it's playing sports and you just have that mental break of like, I need to step away from what I'm doing and just go and play some sports or do something, go to the cinema or with friends, go for drinks, whatever, to take you out of that. Because when you're in it so much every day, it can stifle your creativity sometimes, and you have to have other people to stimulate you. Like sometimes I'm in a studio all day on my own, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I actually need to go outside and speak to someone, because if I don't, I'm gonna go crazy. And you have to have those relationships around you, because it'd be very lonely if you didn't. But like, it helped build your business as well. Like, you know, you never know when you're going to meet the next person that can sort of help you, or you can collaborate with them, or that, you know, might invest in your business. Like, you just don't know like what that relationship is going to be. So it's always good to kind of get out there, meet people, network, you know, connect with people that, you know, you might want to just have an interesting conversation with, because you just don't know where it's going to go. So yeah, it's always good to kind of build your core, and then build kind of a periphery and other people outside of that you can kind of just connect with.
My mentor said to myself and some of us yesterday, he used the word crossbreed.
Oh, right. Okay.
In terms of, for example, crossbreeding, not with sometimes people at your level alone, but people who have done way more than you have over time. So, for example, a Basketball Nation crossbreeding with the NBA. Because it allows your mind to pretty much innovate a bit more, even think beyond how you would normally think anyway. And be able to create something that you would not have thought of creating as well. And that's the way I understood it. I'm sure there's more to it, which I'm going to gain understanding as I go along. Is this something that you've experienced as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like, when I first started, I didn't think I'd be where things I've got to now. And there's still further places I want to take it. And you have to think that way to be able to kind of get there a little bit, as well as obviously connecting with the right people to help you get there. But you have to start having that vision. And, you know, the NBA started somewhere. It started as a very small entity, and now look where it is. So, yeah, you have to think about that. And, like, for example, I never would have thought about collaborating with the NBA, or that I'd be able to even do that. Like, and I have. So it's like, do you know what I mean? And, like, working with, like, Adidas and things like that. And so, yeah, it sort of has happened. And it's things that it's definitely much more on my radar to start collaborating with and trying to kind of, because there's brands that you wouldn't even like, for example, there's brands you never would even think are associated with basketball, but they do. So it's like, what's to stop that crossbreeding? You know what I mean? So the kind of possibilities can be endless. but you have to I think you have to start somewhere, start smaller, and then build up to and have that aspiration of, basketball nation in the NBA.
Yeah, it's almost like the universe knows when you're ready.
To
do that. Exactly. It's like you're prepared, so it kind of aligns you with those other organizations or person, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's always aim as big as you can, I think, and have those big, because if you don't visualize it, I'd say I had a mentor be like, right, what does Tom look like as £1 million business? Do you know what I mean? Like, those are the things that she's like, right, write that plan out. And not necessarily, it's not the step-by-step guide to get there, because there isn't that, but it's like, what are some key things that you think will help you get to that point, or what are the key things that to visualize of that? So you have to think about that. But crossbreeding, I've never heard of that term.
That's a good one. You spoke about collaborations with the NBA, Adidas. How did this come about? What was that process like for you? Because I know sometimes those processes aren't easy. Some people kind of see the final result, but they don't see what happens along the way.
Yes.
What was that like? If you can kind of enable us to kind of feel what you felt as well.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've been very, very lucky in that a lot of the collaborations I've had have been incoming, and people have seen things on Instagram or seen things on like celebrities or whatever, and things have come in. So like the Adidas one was relatively quick in terms of actual getting things together. It was more about hitting their deadlines. In that, the thing with working with brands sometimes is that they forget that you've got a longer lead time, maybe. So it was like, I had a factory that was taking a very long time to produce the basketballs. You have to get legal sign off, so to get through customs, because it was coming from China, I had to get some legal stuff signed off that Adidas had given me permission to put the logo on the basketball so it didn't get stuck in customs. So there's little things like process and legals that always take time. But in terms of actually saying, yes, you want to work together, the idea and all of that stuff all kind of happened relatively quickly. With the NBA, obviously, is a whole different kettle of fish, and that is the thing. Each collaboration is completely different. In the NBA, and so I went through what's called the NBA Lab, which is a kind of innovation hub, I guess, of the NBA, which allows small brands to work with the NBA, because I am not a big brand and I don't have huge licensing budgets. It's great that people think I'm bigger than
you are,
but
you are.
I'm just a small business. But that was a much longer conversation and longer process. Like initially when we were talking, it would have been some point last year, I think the conversation started, and it was talking about trying to get something live for All Stars, but that didn't happen because of timings and all contracts and stuff. So the first collection has come out just recently, and was working with 6 teams initially. There'll be another one where I'm going to work with a wider bunch of teams, because I want to expand the range, obviously, and it was like a bit of a tester to see what works, what doesn't. And they were talking about doing NBA con, so I was supposed to be in at NBA con, but everything was a bit last minute, and I was a bit like, no, I can't make it happen. Like, my factories can't produce that quick, sort of thing. So there are things like that where it's like you want to move at the speed of light, because that's how sometimes businesses move, but you just can't. And so I've had to turn things down a little bit, and which is frustrating, but we move. But everyone's different, and it's when you deal with big brands and big corporations, there's lots of legals that you need to go through, and read those contracts. Definitely read those contracts.
Definitely.
Or get contracts, because sometimes they're just like, oh no, it's all fine, and I'm like, it's not.
That's true. That's something I'm learning right now as well. With a brand that we want to do we contacted them and they wanted to do a kit partnership with us. So that's something I'm learning to do now with them as well. So which is great.
It's good. You can have the basics down. Like, I dealt with contracts when I was working with music, so I have some knowledge, but it's always good to get another set of eyes on it, because you might get, it's all lawyer speak, and sometimes it's like, you're like, what does that mean? So yeah, especially when you're dealing with bigger organizations, get someone to read your contracts who knows how to read a contract properly.
That's true. And are you doing anything within UK basketball at the moment in terms of any collaborations or any collaborations you've done or upcoming?
So we've done some stuff with the London Lions previously, which was amazing, and they're a great team. So yeah, big up those guys. I'd like to do more. I've just had the NBA, the NBA one, so I wanted to kind of get that one not out of the way, but like go through that process and then kind of think about, what's the next thing? Because I would like to do more with UK basketball and support UK basketball more, especially the women's teams.
Okay, that would be quite good.
Yeah.
UK women's basketball in the UK is on a high right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Women's sport generally.
And no one's talking about it that much.
No, I think I see it because my algorithm shows it to me, and so it feels probably like there's a lot going on. But I think I had this conversation the other day with a friend, and it was like, in terms of like women's sports platforms, the US and some of Europe are like way ahead of where we are, and it needs to be further. Like there needs to be more platforms, but. It's a lot of money, investment, and time to do that. I wish I could do it, but there's a lot more happening in women's sports, and so I'd like to do more in women's sports, and definitely in UK basketball. So any UK basketball teams that want to collaborate or do something, I'm totally open to that. Doing that.
And now we're talking about UK basketball. What's your take on UK basketball at the moment? That's one question. That's 1A question. 1B is there anything that you would improve within UK basketball from your perspective?
Yeah. So I think we were kind of having this conversation, I guess, before the podcast started.
That's how I'm bringing it back.
Bring it back. There's a lot happening, and it's like, and teams like the London Lions, like, make it exciting and make it visually. They're building a brand around the team, and that kind of brings a little bit more to the sport and people seeing that and getting people interested. And I think there is it's like a bit of a cusp. It's like we're not quite there yet, but it's like it's getting to that point where more people are going to games. There are more people being interested in it. And like I say, London Lions like doing their thing, and like it's building. It's getting there. Not quite there yet, but it's on its way. There's definitely more that could be done with it. I think more teams trying to build themselves like the London Lions are doing, I think would definitely help. There's a lot to be said for marketing and branding, and you're building like an aura around a team. Like I think there's definitely space for more of that to be done, and for more people to kind of start investing in. I know it sounds stupid, but look at Wrexham, and I know that probably seems a million miles away from like the still basketball team, but Wrexham are not a huge team, and the investment that the owners have given, the marketing that goes around that team, the social, etc., is genius. But quite frankly, and I know it's obviously on they're not Premier League, but they're playing Premier League teams now as like showcase games. Like, do you know what I mean? This is there's something being built there, and I definitely think there's room to try and do something like that with a small team. In terms of like, trying to build up the league, I think it just comes down sometimes to investment and people investing and having faith in the teams and faith in the league and trying to reach out. Maybe more at a grassroots level, because that's where it starts. Like kids getting involved and finding a team and finding a passion for it and having more accessibility. Like I say, I couldn't access basketball till I was in high school, and sometimes you're then disinterested in sports when you're at that age because you're busy doing other things, being a teenager. So there probably is some investment that needed at that grassroots level, and for people like yourself just to be doing like building platforms and things to kind of talk about the sport and try and reach out to people and be more involved in it. And some of it is just it's that simple. Well, say simple, but it is hard because everything requires money.
It does require money, but then at the same time, I think money does come when there's value as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Like what you just said, working at a grassroots level, it just brought my mind to like, we see a lot of the summer events happening.
Yep.
Hoop Fix really pushing it
Yeah.
at the moment, and then you have other platforms, SBB, Hoop Space,
Yep.
and ourselves in all our different ways. But then you see brands like Nike, Jordan, etc., being the sponsors of those events,
Yep.
which is great.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to see a BBL
Yeah.
sponsored event.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be monetary. It could also be people.
Yeah.
It could also be, let's say, 5 London Lions players one day just coming down to one of the events and actually taking pictures with people. Because I feel like when you actually create a community, the community is what helps market you.
Yeah.
So we see in those games last season the amount of people that are in the crowd.
Yep.
If every single person there is a marketer,
Yeah.
but then the question now is how does London Lions turn them into that?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
But I think that could work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. Some of it is just being in the community. Like, it's funny though, because it's like sometimes things that you think of naturally, like you've naturally thought, right, well, why don't they come down and they do this and they do that? Sometimes people just don't think like that. Like, you know, my husband has worked in cycling for a long time, and we work in BMX and stuff. And you know, it's like they should do cycling. The kids, like BMX is going to do cycling clinics for the kids, and the kids absolutely love it. And it's like lots of people should be doing that. Like lots of the pros should be doing that and stuff like that. But they just don't think about it because it's just not in their head to think about it. And British cycling should be doing this and da da da.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just don't think like that. And then when you have an institution that doesn't think that way, then it becomes a little bit more tricky to get people to do stuff. And then it relies on people like you to start doing it when it should be the BBL. It should be the bigger organisations that are doing it, and you're relying on people at a grassroots level to try and do stuff. So yeah, I mean, it starts with us. It starts with people actually supporting the community, and then I think trying to engage people like the BBL to get their asses in gear to do more.
Yeah, I think it will definitely improve anyway. I think it's something it's still early stages as well.
Yeah.
And the more there's more of a collaboration, I think that would change things.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your why, Kelly? Why do you do what you do?
Why? I think because it would hurt not to. Like my brain. I have to be creative. I have to. Like I don't know how else to kind of say it. Like, if I'm not doing something, I'm really anxious and I'm really like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I need to be doing something. So yeah, I do it because I love it, and it would hurt not to do it. Like, I'd probably have a mental breakdown. My brain just has to be doing something, and I have to be creating something. So yeah, and it's not because of money, and it's not because of like anything else. It's even if it all disappeared tomorrow, I'd still be doing it. I just have to be creating something. Like my husband rides bikes, and he had to get outside yesterday because he's like, I haven't been outside riding a bike for 2 days. He's like, I have to. So it's like you get cabin fever, and you get like you just have this like mental breakdown. So yeah. If
you were given not really the opportunity, if you could change the world today, how would you do that?
Jesus Christ.
Make an impact in the world, basically, to make it a better place. How would you do that?
Fucking hell. Can we just make everybody just like each other? Like, I literally go on social media every day, and it makes me want to cry. All of the stuff talking about, actually more, I'm looking at America with everything that's going on with like anti-abortion laws, trans rights, like all of that stuff trickles down over here, and like Black Lives Matter and like all of the racism and like everything like that. Like I just love that to like never have existed, like, and to not exist every day, like for everybody to just, which is something that you can't change, because I think people's, unless you took the media away. Actually, yeah, that's it. Let's just take the media away. just get rid of it all, because they're the ones that fuel the divisiveness. Like, yeah, like that stuff. You feel so helpless about things. Like, just stop oil, like all of that stuff. We're going to destroy the planet. Like, just, yeah, take the media away. Fuck them. Like,
so basically the world becoming a larger community of its own, where everyone accepts each other for their flaws.
Yeah.
Wherever race they are, wherever gender they are, everything basically.
Yeah. Like, I literally just spare every day, and I don't want to. I sometimes open social media because I can't. But then I just don't know what to do about it either. Like, in my total ignorance, I'll just like go along with my day because I don't know what to do. So yeah, it's like I would totally like make everyone play basketball or football, or make everyone play sport and just get along together. Because yeah, it just. I don't, my brain doesn't comprehend how two people cannot like find a mutual common ground, or like get along, or accept someone for the way they are.
Yeah.
Like, actually, fuck religion. Let's take that away. It's the root of so much shit. Yeah. Like my brain just doesn't understand it. Yeah. But I sort of get it. But like, I don't. At the end of the day, I don't understand how we can't.
The reason why I asked that question is to give people a different perspective, because, and I always circle back to basketball, because I think like basketball is also a way of life as well, when you actually do it the right way. You have guys who are elite and then guys who are maybe beginners.
Yes.
And sometimes if you put both of them on the basketball court, the elite guy might think he's the greatest thing ever, which is right, but then they disregard that person, but not realizing that, there's value that I can actually apply to that person to get to that level as well.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I asked that question, because I want people to start thinking that way.
Yes.
Also,
100%. I went very off here. I was like,
no. That's
get rid of the media, get rid of everything else.
That's fine. No, that's great. That's great. Like I wanted that sort of answer anyway, because it will allow people to think as well. And like, that's the main thing.
I think there's a lot to be said from like working in like team sports, like you say, and like, and working with people who probably in life you wouldn't have hung out with or whatever, because when you all come together as strangers and work in a team, like you find ways to get along with each other and find ways to work together. So yeah, I think you can learn a lot from life, like playing basketball or football or doing a sport. I appreciate not everyone's an athlete, but like you say, if you want to be a beginner, like there's nothing wrong with that. And you're not going to be LeBron, but you can just have fun on a court.
Exactly.
So yeah, it is everyone should play sports.
Cool. So I have 3 more questions, and they're quite different type of questions.
Okay.
The first one is, do you have a question for me?
So what made you start Basketball Nation?
Okay. So initially I met a young guy who really loved basketball. And one of the issues, what I saw in him was what I experienced myself when I was playing, is that playing indoors was quite expensive. At the age of 16, 17, 18, you're not trying to pay £5 or £10 to play or to book a call or whatever. And I said to myself, you know what? He has all his guys in his academy that want to play indoors. Let me bring some of my guys that I still speak to. He can bring his guys. We'll come together and just play against each other. I booked the court. That's how it really started. Oh, wow. And then it became, once we saw that, we actually had, our first session, we had 25 people. And once we saw that, we're like, okay, let's do this again next week. Let's do this again next week. But then it started becoming something more. And we started getting more people because it's free. We've never charged for it. And to the point that there's some sessions that we've had 110 people on one court for 3 hours. And then we had to kind of manage it a bit better from that. But it became something else because we started engaging with a lot of these young guys, started seeing different talents, different skills, different issues with them as well, where they were coming from. And we just thought, okay, we need to do something more than just doing sessions. Let's bring more value to them. So things like the podcast we're doing, It's more educational, more insightful. We're even looking at something that you mentioned about creating footwear.
Yeah.
We're actually looking to create the first UK designed basketball sneaker.
Wow.
As well. So that's
That
something
would
we're
be
working on. Yeah. So we're trying to show them the possibilities of being the creator.
Yep.
And saying, listen, this platform is here and available for you to actually do that as well. Just work with us and just once you see the vision, then we just fly together basically. So yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. My next one is start, bench, trade. Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron.
Oh God, that's so tough. Start. I'm gonna start. Oh, God damn it! Start Jordan. Bench Kobe. Trade LeBron.
Okay, interesting. You're gonna hear the other ones when you watch the other episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, oh, literally, how could that's like an almost impossible.
I know. That's the reason.
Question. God damn.
And then last question, but not the least, is who would you recommend to be on this podcast?
Oh. Like anybody.
Anybody. It could also be someone that you can actually introduce. As well.
Okay. So, I think if you were someone I could introduce who I think would be amazing to talk to is and I'm going to forget her surname. That's so bad. It's Julia. And her surname begins with a Z, and it's gone from my head, and I'm so bad because I know her, and she's an amazing like basketball influencer in the UK. Oh shit! I need to look up.
No, it's the
Let me look up her surname because that's so bad. Literally, was talking to her the other day on Instagram. Fuck's sake! How bad is that? She calls herself Julia, like Z. Yeah, Julia Zucchini.
Okay.
Yeah, like you probably would know her.
Yeah, I think I might be following her as well.
Yeah. So she's a huge advocate for women's basketball in the UK. Well, women's basketball generally. Yeah, she's great. It's so bad I forgot her fucking last name. She calls herself Julia Z on Instagram, and I was like, that's not her last name. So yeah, she's amazing. She's hugely knowledgeable about women's basketball.
Amazing.
She does a series on TikTok called WNBA for Dummies.
Oh wow. Okay.
So to try and get people just learning about, the WNBA and like women's basketball and stuff. So she's great.
Amazing.
She would be amazing. And then I think if you were talking about like just like I'm a huge like I'd love to have a conversation with somebody like Sue Bird. I think she would just be like an amazing like if we're talking like absolute blue sky,
You can make it happen. You can definitely make it happen.
She's a legend, and like she's amazing, and I think women's basketball needs more highlight.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing advocate. So
okay.
I think she would be insane to speak to.
I'm
Need more women in basketball.
I'm definitely gonna find a way to get Sue Bird on this podcast as well. Yeah. Definitely. But Kelly, thank you very much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do this sometime in the future again. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Yes, 100%.
As per usual.
Yeah. I love what you're doing. And
thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Appreciate
it's great.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching. And yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the conversation. Listen back again if you missed anything. Quite a lot of nuggets in this conversation. And Kelly, how can we find you on socials as well?
Yeah. So I'm literally just at Tomme Studio on everything. So yeah, really easy.
Cool.
But yeah, get at me. I love having chats with people. So
amazing. Thank you everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, let us know, so that we can continue to improve and grow this platform. My name is Coach David, and thank you for watching.